Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a Connoisseur's Conversation. Today, I'm eager to get to you guys one of the fragrances I've picked up this year that was one that was highly anticipated when it was talked about being launched. And for me, I wanted to get samples. I'm true to sampling fragrances, and that's one I think you guys should know. This is one of the most sexy, unadulterated, sexy leather fragrances that I've picked up in a long time. Very, very becoming of an upscale and non-ostentatious style of leather fragrance, very sexy. And so for me, picking this up after sampling is one that I had to do, and I want to make sure that I got this video across to you guys of how opulent it's smelling while still being something refined and poised that can be pulled off for all masculine gentlemen that want something in their collection that brings about those type of conjuring effects for themselves. So today I'm going to introduce you guys to Tony Iommi's Deified by the House of Xerjoff. If this sounds like the type of content you think you'd enjoy, pull up a seat, pour a glass, and of course, let's enhance. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Drydown, the lifestyle channel where we as enthusiasts aspire to enhance and elevate our olfactive sensory experiences through the understanding of the different aromas, facets, and nuance of scent, cigars, and wines. I'm your host, Chris. Welcome to today's experience. We're going to dive into this fragrance. This is Tony Iommi's Deified. This is one of the sexiest introductions to a fragrance that I've come across in a long time. I want to tell you about how this fragrance come across, the versatility of this particular scent, the performance on it, the actual wearability, how I see the evolution and composition and furling on my skin, the presentation as I stated, and also just what it may compare to in certain fragrance categories and where you can wear it, and the uniqueness, the wearability, the actual versatility of it. At the end of this conversation, I hope that I get across to you something that is appealing to you, because to me it has been. First, I want to talk to you about the presentation. Xerjoff is no skimp around presentation, as you always know. It comes in this nice leather cloth red outside of a two-layer box. One box is covered, it's the white protective. It has the laminate printed box. Then it has this covenant case that opens up. It's a leather cloth red that has Xerjoff Iommi printed on the back. It comes with a card that talks about the blend, what the inspiration was, and what Tony Iommi wanted. It also, inside of this particular card stock, as it prints out, it has a beautiful memorabilia piece, which is a guitar pick. And those are things about a presentation to a package that you have a brand like Xerjoff continually do. And when they do that, it creates customers. And that's one thing about this particular brand. They have got a customer in me, not only for their fragrances, but their presentation and their attention to detail. Once you open up the package, you pull back the two flaps that are made out of felt, and you have the bottle sitting inside of the actual leather cloth red with a piece of felt under that. You pull out the bottle, of course, and then what you have is the beautiful bottle of Deified, which is a very macabre style of bottle. The 50 ml bottle comes with black lacquer paint on it, black lacquer cap, a gold ring around the neck with a gold atomizer that has a very fine mist. Very beautiful scent profile coming out of that fine mist as well, pressurized as all Xerjoffs are. It has these very unique, like I stated, macabre style of skulls around the top layer of the bottle, printed inside of that paint. Very nicely done bottle. The presentations with Xerjoff are just prolific. They come through with these fragrance bottles every single time, making great fragrance presentations. So for me, in talking about the composition, what I can tell you about, it smells so beautiful in here. Talking about this particular scent profile, I'm going to give Xerjoff their flowers and state to you, while having some bias, I will say that I'm a Xerjoff fan. I really love what Xerjoff oils smell like. And so take that with a grain of salt when I present this particular scent to you as one you need to sample before you go out and purchase off my recommendation. I am one who thoroughly enjoys the way Xerjoff feels on my skin. These are fragrances that are very refined. They're very upscale, very poised, and masculine. They create some avant-garde scents, a lot of avant-garde scents, and they do some mass appealing scents. This particular scent here is one of their best avant-garde fragrances that I've smelled in a very long time. I am very much so a fan of their oils, like I stated, and this one has particularly 5 to 6 of my favorite Xerjoff oils that they produce. They have cinnamon, they have apple, they have saffron, leather, rose, patchouli, moss, musk, and papyrus in this particular scent. So it comes off very leathery, like I stated, very unadulterated, sexy leatheriness in this particular scent that comes off so profoundly well composed. Chris Maurice did a fabulous blend with these particular oils. What I get from this as the way this fragrance comes off is that unique way that they are able to use their green apple accords, which is very great as an opening accord to this particular scent. It's not the tart sweetness of the apple, it's actually that fleshy crispness of the apple that comes off in this particular scent profile for them. They were also actually able to apply some of the most beautiful cinnamon, sweet spicy cinnamon to this one that comes off almost orgasmic in the nose. It's that sweet apple pie-ish, but it's not overly done. It's just enough of the sweet tonality to the fragrance opening to draw you in and give you a beautiful opening of the fragrance. They were also able to weave in the beauty of saffron that comes off almost just a slightly medicinal spell to the fragrance opening, give you a nice heady touch to it that also gives a mysteriousness and intrigue to the opening of the fragrance. The opening is very, very gorgeous while smelling the underlying factors of rose and leather inside of it. That opening holds your attention for about 20 or 30 minutes in the fragrance evolution. I love the way that this fragrance opens up. It's very becoming of a gentleman, very opulent, but not being ostentatious. What you then get when you go to the mid of this particular scent is the rose and leather combination. The rose and leather combinations are very well suited to this particular scent and scent style. It comes off very beautifully, and it harkens back to fragrance oils that are used in some of their even higher line fragrances, which are from the Stone collection. One, I believe, is being derived the leather accord from their Ohm, which is one of their first fragrances ever launched back in 2009 or 10, and then the rose component of Richwood. So you get those sweet tonalities of the rose that is very, very prominent, and the leather, which is very, very prominent in this particular scent. They come off green, slightly indolic, but very, very just opulent, as I stated, while being very, very alluring. It's because the leather in this one is almost of a leather with a sheen to it. It has that opulence of a new automobile style of leather, a new luxury leather bag, a new luxury leather piece to your wardrobe. It has that scent of leather along with the actual components of rose in this one. So those combination of the fleshy apple, the cinnamon warm spicy, then that rose and leather combination comes off so seductive. It's a very beautiful part to the DNA factor that Xerjoff presents in its fragrances, because they're something that you've smelled before possibly, but have not smelled in this composition style. You then go to the base within the 3-hour mark. It takes a long time for this fragrance to actually get to the base, which I love as a wearing experience. The evolution takes so long. And when you get to that base, you get this very, very beautiful tonality of burning woods, which is from the actual papyrus, that very stark, astringent style of woody fragrance accords. It's nothing soft or warm like sandalwood or cedar. It's very, very hard and robust the way that the papyrus can come off. Almost just spiky the way you can feel this particular wood come off. This plant is very, very well when done when making masculine style of fragrances that have components that you want to have a juxtaposition against. And I think that they wanted that juxtaposition of hard woodiness to go against that leather and rose combination of the mid, and it introduces itself finally when it comes to the base of this one. As you further go into the base of this one, it gets more and more seductive, more and more unique, and more astonishing on the skin, because what you tend to get is that beautiful patchouli that comes up in a lot of Xerjoff fragrances, that cakey sweetness of patchouli, along with the moss and musk, which is one of Xerjoff's best formulas to come out of their house in a long time, especially when it comes to a avant-garde style of fragrances off the beaten path of the mass appealing fragrances that they can make. To me, this is one of the best stylized fragrances, not only for the composition being a brief done by a rock star who wanted something leathery and unique, but also gorgeous wearing, while still being something that is accessible to others. And so for me, Deified is a perfect fragrance when it comes to the leather components with warm, spicy, and woody tonality to it. Nothing powdery about this, but there is a little bit of a take on what I would call not powdery, but slightly floral powderiness. It's nothing like a iris accord, but that rose gives this little tinge of powderiness, which encompassing when you talk about the effect of the rose and how it becomes an embrace or a romantic feeling. That rose in this one is one of the best components to this one, and in the brief and portfolio of Xerjoff's oils. This one here has some of the best raw materials that are notably opulent but not ostentatious. Like I said first in the opening of this particular statement, because it was so well executed in this release. These prominent notes of cinnamon, apple, leather rolls, papyrus, and patchouli, with the secondary notes being such a heavy tone to it. You have everything that works in a fine tune and fine balance, which makes this one of the sexiest fragrances that I've smelled in 2024. It is one, I will state this as well, after purchasing the bottle, wearing it the last 2 weeks, and seeing what this actual scent would do on my skin, out in public, in private, and also in any way I wanted to see how it would go off in the blend, the business, the leisure, the evening elegance, the nights out, and the daily, to get the uniqueness and the wearability factor of it. And I'll say this is, for whatever comes off of this on my skin, it is a compliment factor fragrance. I've worn this 6 days out of the days I've had it. I've gotten 3 compliments and 1 attention, almost attention to detail, with someone was saying, "Oh, you smell nice." And then I got compliments, as in conversational compliments, of asking me what it was. One from the stopping off to get some baked goods, one at the actual barbershop when I was getting my head shaved, one from a friend of mine who were having a conversation, and the other one was a lady who I just opened the door for, and she said, "Oh, you smell good." So those are conversational and just compliments on the whim. So it is a compliment factor fragrance. I'm not sure what phase I was in, so I can't give you with the evolution of this one how it goes, because it was not the opening. When the opening does derive into the mid very well, but it was later in the wearing experience when they got these compliments, or when the fragrance got these compliments, and it was still projecting off of the skin at a radiating pace of about 2 to 3 feet. And the base was getting that compliment. The leather, the rose, the papyrus, the moss, the musk, and patchouli was getting those compliments in, and it was coming off very well. It's one that I'm very happy and enjoyed in my fragrance collection. I think that you all should get your nose on it. Next, I want to talk to you guys about the actual brother fragrance, or I don't think many people have called this particular scent a flanker. To me, I never would. The way I smell these particular scents, even though some houses have flankers in there, they become suitable. This one here is just like they've done for any other sub collection, where they have just the color scheme and the viability of the fragrance goes into a collection. The Join the Club collection, the Stone collection, all these are collections. And I think that this actually Iommi blend is a collection. I don't think these are derived off of each other. They use 1 note in common to my nose, or 2 notes, the leathery patchouli, but other than that, they're so differing from each other that I would think of them as chapters in a book more than I would a sub collection or sub genre. To me, Tony Iommi has those components that come off very well. Some slightly leathery tonality to it, mostly the caramel, rum, and patchouli effect of this one. This is more, to me, if I was to state how I would wear these and how I would say the unique ability of wearing these, one, Tony Iommi is a cigar lounge with a fire, a soft R&B band and soft R&B music playing in the background with a lot of conversation around you. Deified would be the evening elegant style of that particular wearing experience, where you go out to a nice steakhouse, you're going out to a nice jazz lounge where you can have live lounge music, but it's more over a candlelight than it is over a robust fire and conversations going on, and you're at the bar. So those are 2 fragrance styles that I wear differently, so my wearability and uniqueness can come off in those particular events and spaces. So Tony Iommi is the slightly bad boy effect, chill, relax, and laid back. Deified is the more button up but still has an edge to them type of effect. And 2 very beautiful fragrances that have some components that were very, very well blended. And I think both have an opportunity to shine in anyone's collection. I'll also state this about the particular scent. Deified has some components that are not to be expected out of uniqueness, but it has a fragrance in the actual house of Xerjoff that does remind me a little bit of it, and that is the house fragrance Join the Club More Than Words. So if you've ever smelled More Than Words, it has a similar tonality to it, nothing of a dupe or a redundancy, but has some of those effects, the fiery woody accords, the dry fruits, the leather, the actual rose, the cinnamon accord, all is inside of the More Than Words. So I would say that this, if anything, Deified is a uptick, 100% better reiteration of More Than Words by the house. Far less unisex feminine, far more masculine elegant. I'll also state this, they have this fragrance here that I introduced on my channel not too long ago. This is Herbal Leather, when Suspiro was owned by Xerjoff. And you can see some of the componentry in which they might actually have used as the blueprint to make both Tony Iommi Monkey Blend and Deified. This one here is their passion fruit leather fragrance. The passion fruit, which is inside of the actual Monkey Blend, is inside of this fragrance, and the leather, which is inside of the actual Deified, is in this fragrance. So both of the main component fragrance accords that are in those two fragrances actually lie inside of leather, Herbal Leather by Suspiro. This for me is a nice addition if it were to go into these particular bottles as the all black and gray to signify against this one. I know that this one actually comes in the all black bottle. When I purchased this one, I was under the actual thought that I would be receiving a black bottle, but this one came in. I had to actually find out that this was not a fake bottle and not something that was off to not be sold. This was actually how they had produced these lacquer style of bottles at one point in time in the presentation they were making. This actually does come in a black felted bottle now, so it actually goes into that collection as a looker. To me, this one here is just as sexy, and it goes in between the two. It has that high level of musk that Herba Pura has, while still having the passion fruit and the leather of these two fragrances. It stops there as far as the patchouli and the rose. None of those components are in this one. This one is a very heavy hand in the leather recorded fragrance, and a bit more astringent in the leather at that as well. So it's not as luxurious as Deified, but it is as leathery and more like a bad boy. So the bottle would give you a total leaning against what this particular fragrance is. This is a more bad boy than either one of these is with that particular leather, but it also has some sex appeal from the allure of the actual musk and passion fruit inside of this one. Very well composed fragrance as well. So all three of these, Herbal Leather, I would say, is in this style in the collection, sub collection. Tony Iommi Deified and Tony Iommi Monkey Special are very, very beautifully done, well composed fragrances that have some unique factor and things that I think will go quite well in my wearing experience over the next few years. So that's my thoughts on the actual Tony Iommi Deified. If you have this in your particular collection, let me know how you feel about it, because for me, it's one that's a winner. I'm glad I got it in my collection. So all day. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my video for you guys today. As always, I hope you got something very entertaining and educational from this particular video. And if you did, all I ask you to do, hit the like button, subscribe button, send this content over to a friend, and share it to anyone you know who enjoys this type of video. Today we talked about Tony Iommi's Deified, one of the best opulent, non-ostentatious leather fragrances that present a well-upscale gentleman, well-upscale individual who wants a fragrance off the beaten path to have a bit of an avant-garde edge to it, and very sexy and quite factors in properly in the compliment factor style of fragrances. Rose, opulent rose, unique rose, leather, very upscale leather, the opening of the fleshy orange apple with the cinnamon and spice of saffron. So you can see all these components, how they work well on masculine skin, and this one does that for me. And beware of that papyrus. That is one unique take from this fragrance that you don't smell everywhere, which makes this ultimately giving you a uniqueness that no one in the room will smell like ever when you're around them. And that's a great component to have to a unique fragrance that also gives compliments. So get your nose on the house of Xerjoff's Deified. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Once again, until next time, until next video, peace.